You're listening to the Wheatgrass and Champagne podcast with holistic entrepreneurs Mandi and Kathleen Hupp. Tune in each Wednesday to discuss holistic approaches to a happier, more fulfilling life and glittery distractions from the mundane. Nothing is off limits in this series, so grab your glass of champagne or your shot of wheatgrass and prepare for complete and fabulous chaos.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Whether you're on the road or cleaning the house or just running errands, doing your thing, we're happy to be joining you.
And happy almost Valentine's Day.
Yes, they say the grass is always greener where you water it. So we're touching on that today, talking about how to cultivate intimacy in your relationships and how to keep them strong and keep you and your significant other happy.
Yeah, I think it's a great conversation to be had, especially with February and it being like the season of love and everyone's kind of focusing in on their relationships. And Kathleen and I are excited to share a little bit of our wife hacks and things that we found in our marriages and in relationships, what works really well to build intimacy and, you know, just to make sure that you're always watering your own grass instead of sometimes seeing all the, you know, weeds or other things that are growing that shouldn't be there. I think focusing on all the good things and making every single day count and finding out that there are ways to always improve and always make it better. So,
yes.
That's great. So, Kathleen, I kind of want to hear a win for the week from you. We haven't done this in a while. So
oh my goodness.
Let's share a little bit with everyone what's going on in our lives and give me a good win for the week.
I actually have a good one for Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
So I was at the library the other day getting a change of scenery instead of working from home. And I noticed this like books section that they had, like books for sale. And I had never seen it before. So anyway, I was just like rummaging through and found a little 10-cent bookshelf. And
no way.
One caught my eye. I don't even know why it caught my eye, but I was like, what's this one about? And it was this little romance novel for 10 cents.
Yes.
And yeah, that was my first romance novel to ever read. I remember when I was younger, like one of my friends read me a chapter out of hers and I was like, oh my gosh, like giggling like a schoolgirl. But this was my first full book and it was actually really good.
Ooh, I like that. That's a really good one.
Okay, what's your win for the week?
So my win for the week is it's my husband's birthday. Today, Wednesday. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Andrew.
Woo. So, yeah, we've just been kind of celebrating all week. When it's my birthday, we celebrate for like a whole month. So he gets a little bit of a week. He went out with all of his friends on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, my total favorite thing that happened this week, we went to Hula Bay. Have you ever been there in Tampa?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's this amazing restaurant right on the water in South Tampa, like kind of near MacDill Air Force Base. And you could sit right out on the water and they do sushi and a bunch of different seafood. And on Sundays, they do their infamous brunch. It's like $26 or something, all you can eat. But then they do a mimosa bar and Bloody Mary bar. But for me, it was a total win because since I've been sick since almost October, I haven't been out to eat.
Yeah.
It's just like overwhelming and it's loud and I'm anxious and I can't eat anything. And so it's not my thing right now.
Yeah.
But I just knew it was my husband's birthday week and I got to get back on the horse eventually and just suck it up and go. And I kept thinking, my husband's been so patient and doing all these things for me since I've been feeling unwell that the least I could do is go sit at a restaurant for like an hour and a half, right? And it was perfect. It was like exactly what I needed. I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. I ended up even finding something to eat. I had tuna and rice and a whole bunch of wasabi and ginger. It was amazing.
Nice.
So it was just a beautiful day. It was 70 degrees. The sun was shining. I was taking Paige Clark's advice. If you guys have listened to that episode with Paige Clark, she talks a lot about the sun as therapy. So just sitting out in the sun and eating and just relaxing. It was a beautiful day.
Aw, welcome back.
Yay. So it's a little step forward. So it was a great way to start my week.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can imagine you've got to be so weak after being so sick for so long.
Totally. So just sitting there was like,
yeah,
like I'm going to enjoy it. And like people, it's like really like the noise and the stimulation. And I was so hungry and I just went into it kind of with that like crappy attitude where I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible, but I have to do it. And I'm so hungry and I'm not going to be able to eat anything. And then it all just like turned around. So I think it was the universe being like, sister, shut up and just go out there and do things. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yay. Good for you.
I loved
Happy.
it. Thanks. So it kind of goes with our topic today. A little bit
Yeah.
about what we have to do is sacrifice a little in our relationships. And, you know, I had to make sure that he got out and got to enjoy something because he's been so patient with me. You know? Making sure I am grateful and for that. So
Yeah. And that he knows. Because, I mean, obviously you're grateful, but
and the whole time he was like concerned. He's like, are you okay? You want to go? And he was like, you know, trying to be kind to me where he's like, okay, we'll get the check. And he's like rushing. And I was like, no, I'm actually enjoying myself now. We don't have to rush. And he's like, oh, okay. So it's like, I was trying to be worried about him and he's trying to be worried about me at the same time.
And that's the episode.
And there we go. There's your lesson.
That's a wrap.
No, we're going to bring you guys some juicy stuff too. So how we kind of want to like go about it today is Kathleen and I both have done some research and we want to share some with you guys. So we're just going to go back and forth and just kind of share.
Well, yeah, and just our personal rules that we uphold in our relationships, like how to stay happy and how to take care of your person.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Kathleen, but I have to say with my husband now is probably the healthiest relationship I've ever been in by far. I mean, it's obvious because I'm married to the person, but like it's by far the healthiest situation I've been in.
I know. Same here.
But I've put in a lot of work. I've actually changed a lot of myself and really tried to learn, you know, how do you make a long-term relationship work?
Yeah.
Because after a couple of years, it's like, well, is this going to happen or is it not? You know, and if you want it to, you have to do some adjustments and you have to work on it.
I know if you're in a long-term relationship that is with the wrong person, that is some serious strength training for making a relationship work.
Yeah.
Because like if you're trying to force it with the wrong person, then you're really good probably at, you know, remedying situations and taking care of things. So then when you get in the right relationship, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a dream.
Right? It's so worth it.
Yeah.
I think like back with all the past relationships. So ladies, if you are in a relationship right now that like you're struggling, it's not working, maybe you two aren't seeing eye to eye and you break up, just know that all those relationships weren't for nothing. Like honestly, I would remember breaking up and being like, what a waste of like 2 years. And I'd be like so bitter in the moment. But now being in this like serious long-term relationship, I'm look back and I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful I went through that because it taught me, you know, patience, or it taught me how I am at arguing. And so I had to adjust that, or I can like look back with a clearer lens and I'm like, oh, look how far I've come. I'm not the psycho girl that used to stalk their phone and listen to their voicemails and do some crazy stuff.
Hey, like, look at me now. I'm chill.
Look at me now. I'm so chill. Do what you want, Andrew. No, seriously, don't, but
Still watching you.
I'm still watching you. Not as crazy as that. So Kathleen, you want to share with us your first tip?
Ooh, yes. Okay. So I don't know which order I'm going to go in. So it might not be like my number one important first, but one that I for sure live by is that you can't hold a grudge. So you can't bring up anything in your relationship to throw at your significant other that happened 6 months or longer ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So if they have messed up, I mean, hopefully they've apologized for it and, you know, changed their ways so it's not going to happen again.
Right.
If not, that's another topic. But so as long as they've apologized, you have to move on. Even if you don't think you can ever get over it, you're not allowed to hold it over their head because that is emotional torment and it will destroy you and the person and your relationship. So,
oh my goodness, that is such a big one. So
It's
what do you do
huge.
like when you remember those situations? Do you like have to calm yourself down? Do you like, or is it like so instinctual now because you've been doing it for so long?
Well, actually, I'm blessed beyond measure in this relationship that there's nothing I really have to like move past. Like we're just good. But in previous relationships, I had a lot of that. And I was like, dang it, I'm not allowed to rehash this, or I'm not allowed to bring this fight up again. And it would, I think honestly, I would like bring it up enough right after it happened. And like, I really let that person know like how detrimental that was to me, that once 6 months had passed or once even a couple months had passed, I was like, okay, there's nothing more that I can say to convey this to them. Like,
and you were just like done and over with
so
it.
like I had spoken my piece about it and I was like, there's nothing that we can do differently. And it is what it is. We're either moving on together or moving on separate. So I just kind of came to terms. But yeah, so speak your mind. You know, if there's something that really, really bothers you, explain it in a way that is understandable by the other person.
Yeah,
and then you got to let it go.
That's a good point. You definitely have to be able to say everything you feel about it, right? Because sometimes when those arguments happen, we only say like half of it as women.
Yeah.
Because we're scared to like maybe say exactly how it made us feel. Cause like, I think sometimes when you have like an argument or the other person does something that's like really hurtful to you, you can tell them that pissed me off, that hurt my feelings, like whatever. But it's harder to be like, why? Like it hurt me because this happened to me before, or maybe in my childhood, I felt neglected. And so when you didn't tell me where you were, I felt like you didn't care about, you know, like getting down to that nitty gritty.
And that helps too, because then they understand more of who you deeply are.
Right. And so I think as women, we don't share that deep part. We share like the surface of why it upsets us, but then it festers because you're like, I just want them to know how bad it hurt me. So then you bring it up like a month later when you're feeling bolder and braver and you want to like talk about it again.
Yeah.
So I think just like you said, get it all out there, be super raw, be super open. There's no shame in being like, this is why it upset me, like to my core.
Yeah. Get to the root cause if you can.
Mm-hmm. Even if you have to write it down and just share it with them on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily always have to feel comfortable right away. I would do that a lot in the beginning of my relationships, write it down and then be like, I just want you to read this when I'm out of the room, when I'm not around, because I feel less vulnerable, like than you just reading it and staring at me. I want you to think about it. And then when you're like ready to address it, then come talk to me.
That's a good idea.
So it prevented me from just like feeling super raw and real and open and being scared of rejection or scared of their response. And it gave them time to actually formulate a response that wasn't irrational or wasn't something that would hurt me back, right? Like they got to think about what they were going to say and how they were going to say it.
Yeah.
Which saved me probably a lot of headache.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that one.
That's a really good tip.
Oh, that wasn't supposed to be, but it kind of just bounced off of yours.
No, that was perfect. Okay, now go for your rule.
Oh my God, mine's going to sound so silly now compared to that like in-depth like thing I just said.
No, we need both.
Okay. So my rule for relationships, when you want something and you ask your significant other if it works or if it's okay, and they say no, I never take it as a no. I literally just think, not now.
Put it on the back burner.
Put it on the back burner and re-ask them a little bit later. Because trust me, situations change, feelings change, thoughts and perspectives change. So for instance, I'll give you guys a really good example. When my husband and I first got married, I wanted to hire someone to clean our house, because we both work 7 days a week. I mean, we were so busy, it was ridiculous. And I'm like, who is cleaning the mold off the tiles in the shower? Not me. Why should I have to do that? You know, and he clearly wasn't doing it. We just got married. So he was like, I'm not paying someone to come into my home and clean. Like, that is ridiculous. I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. As far like financially, I was working 7 days a week. I could have quit one of my jobs and stayed home and cleaned the house. But financially, it would have been more realistic for me to just pay someone for a couple hours and then work that job, you know?
Yeah.
So he was like, no. And I mean, it got to the point where he was like, absolutely not. I'm not talking about this again. That's never happening. And he'd get real heated, like real mad no about it. So I was just like, okay, that's cool. And then like 3 months would go by and I wouldn't like clean the mold off the tiles, or like something would happen. I'd be like, well, wouldn't it be nice if someone was here to clean it? Like I would just make simple comments like that.
Yeah.
And that just continued on. And about 6 months later, I was like, listen, here's the deal. Like financially, I broke it down. I was like, we'd have more time together, gave him all the positives. And he's like, fine, 1 day a week, every other week. I was like, nailed it. Yes. Like didn't take it as a no, but also didn't argue. So if the other person says no, don't make it an argument, you know, because it's something that I really wanted, but starting an argument only would have created his resentment for that even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he had his own reason why he said no. I didn't need to give him more reason to just be angry at the situation and have to be right.
Yeah. You don't want to push it.
Right. So I was just like, okay. And I just like came back to it, like circled back around a few times. So if they say no, don't push it. Don't make an argument.
Do you guys still have the housekeeper?
No. So I ended up quitting my job. Like I was working full time. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I was working full time and I did not enjoy that job. So he was like, just quit the job. And I was like, okay. And then eventually I realize that I am so dang picky. Like the house, this is a funny story. She came over one day and she was sick, and my immune system is the worst. So she came over while she was sick to clean my house. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's touching everything. And she's like dripping snot out of her nose. Like, oh, I was so upset. And then she left and I like wiped down all the handles with like wipes and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we're done here. Like
She shouldn't have come over sick.
I know.
My goodness.
So it was funny how like he didn't want it. And then it actually ended up with me being like, no, I don't want anyone in my house.
Yeah.
So
Double-edged sword.
But I still believe in the motto, ask and ask again. Okay. What's your next one?
Okay. So this one is kind of about cheating, but it can also be applied to a lot of other things.
Okay.
But, so you've heard that, you know, when you're in a relationship, you have to guard and protect that relationship with swords and daggers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, haters are going to want to come in. There's probably going to be some vixens out there trying to take your man.
Especially if he's a good one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
If he's nice and he's kind and he is personable.
Yeah.
That's what you want in a significant other. But trust me, like
everyone else does too.
Yeah. Girls are going to be liking that.
Yeah. It's almost like the married man is more attractive because they see value in him.
Yeah.
So yeah, guard your marriage. But I look at it kind of how I look at flu season. You know, like during flu season, you can't control what anyone else does. You can't control if they're sneezing on your doorknobs or,
right.
You know, you can't control what they do. You have to build your immune system. So, you know, up your superfoods like with turmeric and ginger and colloidal silver and all of that. So if the little flu ladies come knocking at your marriage, you know, you just have to you can't control what they do.
Right.
You can't control what dress they wear or what words they say to your husband when you're not around. Like you just can't control that. So you just have to strengthen your relationship from within and make sure that you're covering all your bases. Like make sure you have open lines of communication and make sure you're spending quality time together and make sure you're staying intimate.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that if you take some time off from having sex that like he's gonna go cheat. That's not what I'm saying at all.
But it's like letting them know that you want to be intimate with them and making sure they feel like you appreciate them and you find them attractive.
Because the intimacy doesn't have to be sex. It's just like a touch on the arm or like a nice word or
letting them know that you find them
valuable and loved and
totally.
So so that's my value there is like you have to strengthen the relationship, and then it doesn't matter who comes knocking. If both of you are satisfied in your relationship, nothing else will matter.
That is so good.
They'll just be turning people away at the door.
I absolutely love that. The next time that happens, I'll be like, that flu germ can go away.
She can fly away.
This immune system is strong, okay? Stronger than mine. That's a really good one. I love it. It's a good way to look at it too, right? You can't control outside situations, and you also can't control how your husband acts and reacts, right? Like you love him for the person he is. You can't be like, oh, well, when she comes around, just look down at the ground and put a blindfold on. Like,
no. And almost like the more you try to control things like that, it can go the opposite way.
Totally.
Because they're like, just let me make my own decision.
Right. Like, just trust me.
Yeah.
So I like your perspective on that.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Thanks.
Yay. Mine kind of bounces off of that too. And being able to like create that intimacy and strengthen your relationship from within is know your partner's love language. I didn't know much about that until we had to go to marriage counseling to get married through our church, and they made us do the love language quiz.
Oh yeah.
And so I thought mine was quality time. And after I did it, my number one came out with words of affirmation. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so accurate. Like, I'd rather you just tell me how amazing I am all the time. You don't have to like sit next to me on the couch always. Yeah. And the same thing with my husband's. Like, I thought I knew what he liked. And then when his came up with acts of service, I was like, really? Like, I assumed he was like the manly man and like didn't need anyone to do anything for him. Yeah. So to get acts of service, I was like shocked. But now I know that's how he receives love. So little tiny things that I do make a huge difference, you know? So I'm not like spinning my wheels and trying to buy him gifts or trying to give him words of affirmation, although they're nice, right? Everyone likes a little bit of everything. Yeah. But it helps me kind of focus in when I'm busy or I only have a little bit of energy or a little bit of time, then I can focus on the one thing I know for sure he's going to receive. So I think knowing the people around you's love language is so important, not necessarily just in like an intimate relationship or, with a significant other, but your moms, your best friends. I mean,
Yeah,
I just think it's so important to know the people around you and how they feel love so you can give it in the right way for each person.
Yeah.
Do you know yours?
I am same as you, actually, like words of affirmation and quality time.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, a little bit of everything else, but those are my two, like, gotta have them.
Yeah. If you guys don't know what your love language is, I'm pretty sure you could just Google it and you can take the test for free. And there's a really good book that goes along with it too, that goes more in depth and it explains them and it gives examples of each. So it makes a way more sense. I actually got it as a gift for a friend for our wedding. So it's such a great gift for someone's wedding or bridal shower or something too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made the mistake once a few years ago. I was like, I'm going to read the full book. And so I thought I ordered it on Amazon, and it showed up and it's like the abridged version. So it's like a paragraph of each love language. And I was like, oh, cool.
Nope. The big book. Gotta get the big book.
Sums it up.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So that's a challenge for you guys. Find out your love language and ask those around you.
Yeah.
Totally.
It works. Okay. So another one I have, actually, this isn't one I have. This is just kind of like fascinating to me. There are people who have taken this sex challenge.
Ooh.
So people who struggled with intimacy in their relationship or with body image issues of themselves or, whatever. But some people do it for 30 days and they say, okay, and this isn't like when you're dating someone new, but like when you're in a committed relationship, having sex with that person every day for a month.
Wow. Sounds so overwhelming.
It really does.
I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe at first, when you're first with this person, it's like, oh, well, duh. Like we're at day 47 in a row. But, after a while.
Yeah. If you're 3 years into a relationship, then having sex every day for a month, you're like, wow, do we even have time for that? Like, our schedules are busy.
I like Netflix.
I just want to wear like sloppy sweatpants and go to bed.
Right? God, get off of me. No, can't do that, ladies.
Yeah. So this lady, what is her name? Brittany Gibbons. Always have to credit the author, but she did this challenge for actually a year.
Ooh.
So she was they have, I think, 3 kids, but she was having major body image issues and she never wanted to be seen naked by her husband, never wanted to they rarely had sex and this and that. And so she heard about this challenge and she was like, okay, we're going to do this for a year. And her husband, of course, was like, heck yeah. So initially, she said it started out like a chore.
Okay.
Like she, just like brushing your teeth at night. It was like, oh, I'm ready for bed. And then I was like, oh, I still have to do this thing. So started out like a chore. But then she said, so I'm going to read a little bit from her article. She said, as the months passed, I started looking forward to it. And sex begat more sex. And then those connected, loved up feelings began to creep outside the bedroom and into our everyday lives. We were more romantic with each other, touching arms as we passed, kissing longer before work, and not just the cold, familiar peck. Our relationship was stronger and better when our intimacy was flourishing. And then she said, on a personal level, the changes in the way I saw my body were staggering. 3 months in, I found myself enjoying sex again, making a playlist of songs that turned me on. 6 months in, I took off the cami I'd hidden my body inside of. So anyway, after a year, her relationship was just in such a better place and she was so happy for it. And of course, they don't have sex every day anymore. That would be exhausting. But she said they learned so much about their relationship and about themselves. And they learned specifically how much each of them needs to have sex in order to feel connected to each other.
That's amazing.
So yeah. And it taught them so much about just like understanding each other and listening to each other and how that kiss before work, like how much that really means and how much, you need to pay attention to little things like that because they ultimately build a happy relationship or break it.
Totally. I've heard of the 30-day sex challenge before.
Yeah.
And read like a lot of testimonies that it's been kind of the catalyst to fix broken marriages because I think as women, when we fall out of the routine of having sex of any sort, we say like, oh, he needs to be doing this and this and this to turn me on. Like he doesn't bring me home gifts, or he doesn't take me on dates, or he doesn't do this and this and this. And so I don't want to have sex with him, almost like a punishment.
Yeah.
And I think that is never going to lead to what you want. Right.
Yeah, that is
and then men, on
dangerous.
the other hand, are like, well, I don't want to ask her again because she always says no. So it's like this cycle, like where does the cycle break?
Yeah.
And I think, as the stronger person in your marriage or in your relationship, you kind of have to give a little to get a little, right? And that can be really hard to do because you're like, well, how hard is it for him to take me on a date? Well, guess what? They're not going to do it. Like they need to feel wanted. They need to feel desired. They need to feel that you actually physically find them attractive. That's a big male thing, or anything, even in, relationships like bisexual, gay, anything. Like two people, when they're connected, want to feel like the other person finds them attractive.
Absolutely.
So that intimacy is so important in so many ways. So if you're the stronger person in your relationship, you have to just say, okay, I'm going to initiate it. I'm going to make it happen. And after 30 days, the testimonies show that now the other partner is wanting to do kind things because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm like feeling more connected and I'm spending this time with them and I want to do something to show them that I love them. And it just kind of comes full circle. So
it really does.
Don't find the negative in it. Just try it. That's, I think, when the book that talks about the 30-day sex challenge just says, just try it, right? Go into it with like no expectations. If it doesn't work, okay, fine. It doesn't work. Like,
yeah, it's not going to be easy the first day, the first few days, the first week.
If you're like, you get a migraine, you come home exhausted, all the excuses we use that are kind of valid half the time, right?
Yeah,
you got to get over them.
It'll start like a chore and then it'll cultivate intimacy and you'll be so appreciative.
Well, thanks, Kathleen, because I'm sure Andrew's going to hear this and he's like, when are we starting?
Yeah, day one. What?
Oh my gosh. Thanks, girl. I'll be giving you private updates.
Thank you.
If he's comfortable, share it on here, but we'll see. So that kind of talks about my next one, actually. So my next one is, make your husband feel safe to be vulnerable. Because I think in our society, men aren't allowed to be vulnerable. They're growing up. They got to be the tough guy. They can't cry. They got to be strong. Even going into like a relationship, they want to be the provider. They want to be financially stable. They want to have their ducks in a row before they find the right girl or get married. And that is just the pressure that's on them. And so they can never be weak. They can never be honest and in tune with their feelings. So as a female and a partner to them, if you can make them feel safe to be vulnerable with you and be safe to open up and share those things, that is such a blessing. And it's hard and it might not happen for years, but I think that's a big part of my marriage, is always letting him know, like, you can tell me those things. Like, you can say when you're breaking down, you can tell me why. And if he cries or if he's upset or, something happens, I don't share that with anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to feel so safe that whatever happens in that situation, if you tell me something, if you cry in front of me, you're never, ever going to hear me repeat that. And I think that makes him feel safe, right? Because if he has a hard time opening up to me, he's not going to want to do that if I'm out chatting with my girlfriends and being like, oh my gosh, this happened. Or even like sharing it with my siblings or his mother or something, So I think it just brings this beautiful level of trust and the one space that they can be their true authentic self in. And everyone wants to feel that in a relationship, right?
Yeah, they've got to know that you have their back.
That one person you can just be so raw and real with. Yeah. So they're probably not going to do it willingly. You have to almost just constantly remind them that, hey, it's okay. Hey, if you need to break down, like, I'm here. Hey, it's totally cool if you cry. Like, you just got to remind them. And then one day they'll feel safe enough to do it. So
got to open up the space for trust.
It's not easy.
The circle of trust.
Get in the circle. It's not an easy one.
My last relationship rule will help with achieving your rule.
Okay.
Or your guide. But making quality time for each other. Not even quality time, but just setting aside time that is dedicated for you two. It can be a date night out where you get dressed up and go somewhere nice and sit at a dinner or go to an event and, talk to each other. Or it can be just, staying home with no cell phones, and like cooking dinner together and having dinner at a table together and talking there. But you have to dedicate some time to each other because everyone is so busy all the time and relationships can just get lost in the flow of it. And you have to have time to, hear what they have to say.
Totally.
And
Are you guys pretty good with the phones? Like, what's your trick to like not look at them?
Sunday. Well, actually, we're pretty good in the evenings, but sometimes we'll look at them. But Sunday is for sure. All weekend, we pretty much leave our phones in the dust. Like, we don't even know where they are.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we just spend time outside and garden and do this and that. We're pretty good on the weekends. And that's kind of when we repair.
Yeah.
If
Unplug
needed.
And oh, that's so good. I think that is probably, just hearing from other people and knowing the way that our culture is right now, that the phones take away so much.
They're going to be the death of so many relationships.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
And not even just like the posting in the social media, but like the actual physical act of just mindless scrolling and giving other things attention and not your relationship. Like when you're sitting next to each other, and that happens with us, we'll both be like on our phone silence for 20 minutes and I'll look over at my husband and I'm like, stop, just let's go put the phones away. Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's almost like you feel like you're in the room by yourself and then you look up and you're like, oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Like,
and I like catch myself. I'm like, okay, we only get a couple hours in the evening. Like let's just lock them up, put them away, put them in the room, let's shut the door.
Yep.
So, and that's like hard to do, to kind of recognize it. So I think step one is recognizing it.
For sure.
And then finding a way to lock them up.
Yeah.
Hide them, turn them off.
Airplane mode.
Yes. So my last tip is just, I think it just applies in all situations, but especially for men, feed them. And I don't mean necessarily cook for them because I don't cook, but feed them. Like I am amazing at reading restaurant menus. Like before we go, I make sure there's something on there that he likes. I almost always have suggestions when we get there. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw on the menu that like you might like this, and this. You would probably like that.
Oh, you're like a travel agent for restaurants.
I just got to make sure he's going to know that there's something there that he likes. I'd
like to bring your attention to this entree.
Exactly. I just got to make sure he's fed. So if your man is cranky, sassy, irritable, like just feed him. That's like the number one thing that helps us. I mean, there's been times we've gone out, like I'll be like, can you want to go to the farmer's market with me? Or do you want to go to the beach or something? And it's not something he would normally do. And I've made the mistake of going, and he comes with, just to be kind and be pleasing to me. And then there's no food there. And it's like, this just went south real fast.
And those activities you said are out in the hot sun. So that on top of hanger is woohoo.
And I like got my snacks, and I'll like be like, oh, you want a protein bar? And he's like, that's not food. So now I've learned to prep ahead, feed him on the way, make sure he eats before he goes, or like have a plan to get him fed.
Genius.
So, and it works. He's happy. He's down to do pretty much anything as long as there's good food around.
He did say that in his romance episode. He was like, make sure they're fed.
Oh yeah.
Talking about first dates.
Oh yeah, that's right. He totally did.
He was like, they don't really care where they go as long as there's food.
It's true. It's like, that's all they think about, which valid point,
Yeah. Hey, survival skills.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome.
All right. So I think that wraps it up for our suggestions on how to cultivate an intimate and happy relationship with you and your significant other. Our WAC upgrade this week is going to be to take the 5 love languages quiz and figure out your love language, if you don't already know, and figure out that of your sig other, boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, wife, whatever they may be. And as always, follow up with us on social media because we want to get to know you guys just like you're getting to know us.
And we want to wish you guys happy Valentine's Day. I totally think it's a cheesy Hallmark holiday for sure. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can't show your love and appreciation for those around you. So make sure you do that. I think that's so important. So send a text to your mom, your sister, your best friend tomorrow, and make sure you let them know that you love them and you're thinking of them, and just do a kind gesture for your significant other. It doesn't have to be something you spend money on. A tip that I like to do, and I hope my husband doesn't hear this before Thursday, but I do like Post-it notes on the mirror of reasons why I love him.
Oh, I love that.
And I like when he falls asleep at night, I like quick go put them up. And then in the morning when he gets up first to take a shower, it's like what he gets to wake up to first thing in the morning. So
Nice.
Hopefully that little tip helps you guys enjoy your Valentine's Day and connect with us. We love to hear from you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. So whether you're cleansing or celebrating, cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Wheatgrass and Champagne podcast. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Join the Wheatgrass and Champagne community on Instagram, Facebook, and wheatgrassandchampagne.com. Details from this episode can be found in the show notes below. Tune in next Wednesday as we continue to seek the perfect balance between indulging and upgrading. Until then, cheers.